Okay, so this is the daddy-daughter duo.
Close.
Right here. They're called the daddy-daughter dream team on TikTok. And it's crazy because they're going like super fucking viral right now. Like people are making video essays on them that are getting hundreds of thousands of views. And it's like the Grace and Ben situation is worse than this, but it's pretty fucking similar. If you don't know, these are the Thorps. Ben is the dad and Grace is the daughter. And we'll leave a bunch of links in the description to learn about their situation, as we will be comparing and contrasting their situation heavily with the daddy-daughter dream team.
Maybe they could all get a TLC show together.
And I take it very seriously. Only my future husband will ever have me in that way.
So I was casually scrolling through TikTok the other night whenever I came across this video of this man and woman dancing together. And at first I thought, okay, this has to be an age gap couple. But then I saw the account handle and I realized it was not an age gap couple at all. It was actually a father and a daughter. And it's a father and daughter, and they dance a lot on TikTok. And it's the kind of dancing and the kind of videos that you would expect to see from a couple's account on TikTok, not a father and a daughter. The way that they interact, the energy between them, it has people feeling very uncomfortable. Like not just confused, but actually concerned. And as I started going down the rabbit hole that is the dad-daughter dream team, I found so much more than just cringy dance videos. So in this video, we're going to talk about everything that I found. We're going to discuss if people are overreacting or used or daughter dream team on TikTok. Sarah is 22 and still living at home with her family.
And it's crazy because, dude, Sarah's 22, still living at home with her family. Grace is also 22.
And while her mom and her younger brother are sometimes in appearances, the main focus of the account is Sarah and Patrick creating TikToks together. What makes a lot of people talk about them is their dynamic. It's not even the closest, you know.
Shout out channel dude, the $20.
Just show us some love. Hi.
Hi.
Love you.
Cobra Kai, yeah. I love my dad.
Yeah, I kind of figured that out. I think they did too.
Yeah.
She likes dental hygiene.
Hi.
Hi.
Brother,
they're always touching each other.
It was like, yeah, basically the thing with these people is that they're like very touchy, very like cuddly, and it's like they gaze into each other's eyes in this way. And I want to show you the dichotomy of, hold on here. So it's very similar to the stuff that we see with these two. And there's moments when they feed into it, man. Oh, wait, hold on.
Dude, and him like filming like up her, like she'll be in a bikini and he's like literally taking like ass shots of her. Like I just cannot fathom my dad like taking like that's so in itself just telling of like this bizarre no boundaries. Like she's only just learning what boundaries are conceptually now in the first place. Like he's convinced her it's bad, and also like, you know, her mental illness was probably BPD. He's convinced her that just means bad woman. She's trapped like every way she like can try to get help. He's like built it up.
And then also another instance of them being like physically close like this. I can't remember where I found this. It's in
Homeless Stud. That's a good. I love Para's little Miss Bumma Stud. Yes, that's the best. You should name our shows.
Here's another instance.
why else would they be so attracted to people who look like their fathers, if not actually being?
I just have to say about the show. I don't know how we're supposed to run this, but there's a guy named Stick.
So Ben says, if you couldn't quite hear that, I should have turned the audio down more, but he says, why would they act like they're so, just talking about women in general, attracted to men that look like their fathers, if not, and then he takes a look at Grace and he goes, if not actually attracted to their fathers, and then cuddles up with her like that.
Yeah. They pick her like a couple. The way they behave is like a romantic couple. That's just the and they've even, you know, admitted that much, that it is like, you know, in some ways incestuous. What they go, you know, they're always teetering on the line of like fully admitting it's.
So this is the point. The point is, you guys are kind of right. There is something incestuous going on. All right? It's true.
If you're a girl and you're not connected to your dad, you need to go find your dad and suck his dick.
And I mean, then obviously there's the clip of him spanking her on the butt in a playful way. while she's in a bikini. So it's like if you compile all that and then next to like these two, it's like people could be making the same video, you know, just sub out Ben and Grace.
Gazing deeply into their eyes. Like, it really does seem, if you didn't know it was a father-daughter TikTok account, like myself at first, you would think this is a, you know, romantic couples TikTok account. It's weird. It's really, really weird. And any time that they actually address the weirdness of it all, they basically turn it around on the audience saying, this is just how we are. This is how our family is. We're very close. All four of us. We love to, you know, touch and hug and all these different things, whatever. So they basically say that, you know, you are the one making it a problem, not us. You're the one making it weird and making something that isn't actually there.
I am fine. I am happy. Problem is, you probably won't believe me.
And it's funny because, again, they do the same thing of he takes the daughter and says, you need to go up and address this, and you need to go and appease the audience and say that you're happy and you're fine and your relationship is perfectly normal. And that's exactly what he does with Grace, especially more so in the beginning.
I don't care. I've said it before and I will say it again. My life is my choice. I don't need to change how I live and interact with my family because of
like these types of people, they don't want help. Like people, they discover a dad and daughter that have a dynamic like this. And I don't know. Actually, I don't want to make that grand sweeping statement because maybe with her, I don't know this family well enough. Like, because I think that Grace is kind of an active participant in it. Like, she could definitely leave if she wanted to, and there would be many people that would be willing to help her. But in this situation, you know, maybe her dad is putting her up to it and literally being like, you have to go and make this statement right now or there's going to be punishment and there's like abuse behind closed doors. But on the surface level, she's making the statement that, no, I am a willing participant and I want to be a part of this. And I like being really close with my dad, which
meanwhile, she looks exhausted. She's not taking care of her teeth. She has major bags under her eyes. It's like you can see almost like in how people look, like how they're actually doing. If the stress is that bad or if they're in an abusive relationship, they're often like more exhausted or not keeping up with basic hygiene, which we've seen, you know, with them too.
Yeah, dude. It's yes. I didn't even notice that. Yes, dude. Yeah, people have commented in envy. We have proposals in this video, and they also talk about as a talking point in this video how, you know, she's kind of like the lack of hygiene in this. It's the same kind of weird familial culture that they have.
Strangers on the internet think it's weird. Yes, we post content online, and yes, that opens us up to criticism, but that doesn't mean we have to listen to you or do what you say. The biggest problem is you barely see 2 to 5 minutes of our lives every day, and you think you have it all figured out.
That is the difference. Is I don't think that these two stream as much, but I do think that they do live streams sometimes. So yeah, they actually do live streams, so we have a much larger frame of reference to examine their relationship aside from like the little choreographed snippets from TikTok. So let me know in the comments if you would like to see a deep dive into some of their longer form content so that we can analyze their true dynamic.
Out and about at parks, in stores, at theme parks, and acting the very same way we do on camera, and no one ever asks if I'm okay. In fact, they laugh along with us and compliment us on how close we are.
Know who we are. We don't need anybody else to validate us.
And people are always saying that a grown woman shouldn't be hugging her father like that. I don't believe there's an age limit on love.
Which that clip is kind of odd, don't you think? Because nobody's saying that there is an age limit. You know, once you get this age, you can't show affection towards your parents. Nobody's saying that. Not a single person.
Always a false equivalency.
But in my opinion, at least, this is
yes, the false equivalencies. They love
over and over. They love it, and it's like it's just so obvious. Like I can't even do it anymore. I can't take it serious.
Any type of appropriate affection towards, you know, your parent or the parent towards the adult child. It's going beyond that. So the first video that sort of gained some viral attention for Sarah.
Honestly, with this family though, I'm honestly not as convinced actually as I am with Ben and Grace. Like, I mean, I haven't seen as much, but like with them, it really does more so seem like it's just like this weird physical affection thing, but like they're slightly more normal, which I mean is compared to the Thorps, like that really doesn't mean anything. But
Patrick was one where Patrick was proposing to Sarah for her to wear a purity ring.
Okay, guys, we got something special for you, so please don't go anywhere. Stop scrolling. All right. So I'm about to give Sarah a purity ring, but I'm going to do it in a very special way. I'm actually going to make it look like a marriage proposal. Now, don't get the wrong idea. It's not a marriage proposal. Okay, this is just. I'm very grateful that she has remained pure to this point and is continuing to remain pure, and I want to give this to her. As a sign that I'm proud of her. There it is. She's gonna love it. Okay, so let's go get Sarah. Sarah, I need you to get up, honey.
Like, this whole purity ring thing, just in general, is such a weird concept, too. Like, giving a child a purity ring, I feel like, is so, like, 1990s, and I feel like it's an outdated. But also, I mean, I don't run in these, like, Christian-type communities where you're, like, saving yourself for marriage and stuff. So, like, I'm sure it's still normal in some communities, and, like, reading into that alone, like, I wouldn't say that that's any evidence that something weird is going on. But what makes it weird is the fact that he, like, does it as a proposal. Like, I don't know. And it's funny because Ben and Grace would always use the excuse of, like, oh, well, what about daddy-daughter dances and taking your daughter on a date and stuff like that, and would use that to try and normalize their dynamic.
It's so different, obviously. It's like, I just hate how disingenuous they're all the time. It's like, can't they just, like, everyone sees, anyone who's watching for a while, I know they can, like, deceive new people, and I was deceived at one point. So I try not to judge people too harshly if they're still in that, you know, like someone like Patience, I don't know what's going through their minds. And like even other people who are like new, they're trying to process a lot of different people saying a lot of different things, and it's so much to untangle. I try to have patience, but some people also just have no backbone. They'll just literally just, you know, go along with whatever the dominant person is doing in any situation, like all the time, no matter what. Like,
Titus also said your dad should have no idea about your purity status as a 32-year-old adult. And I appreciate that coming from her because I know that she is like a practicing Christian, and I was from the perspective of somebody who is a Christian who agrees with that as well. Is like it's refreshing, dude. Because
yeah,
like,
my parents were like worship leaders and in like the church, and I grew up in that environment. They never did any of this like weird like hyper focus on purity, especially like not my dad like inquiring about like, you know, sex stuff. You know, I don't know. It's different cultures, so I try not to judge too much, but it's weird to me. I don't know.
Just don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying to read a book.
Yes.
What are you doing?
You're about to find out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, listen. First of all, okay, you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And most of your age are not.
she is 22, not a kid, or 20 in this clip. 20. The point remains.
Okay, and I want to give you something.
What?
I want to give you something.
Okay.
Okay. So, Sarah.
Yeah. What are you doing? What? What is this?
Sarah, will you wear this?
I feel like she's uncomfortable too. Like she's doing this kind of, and I mean, body language, you can only go so far with it, but she's doing this kind of like self-soothing, fucking like closed off body language. Looking at the camera, like, what are you doing? Dad, you're embarrassing me, but I have to go along with it.
Praying as a sign and a promise to God and to me to remain pure until the day you're married.
Yes. That is gorgeous.
Give me your left hand. Okay. This ring will remain on your left ring finger until the day your husband puts another ring there in its place.
Okay.
As a sign that you will remain pure.
Nice.
I love you.
I love you too.
That's a good girl.
I like it.
Now, look, there's no problem with people who want to wait for marriage, whatever their reasoning might be. I think that's great, as long as it's their decision, as long as it's their personal conviction, not somebody pressuring them to make that decision, which kind of seems like what happened in this video, being that whenever he asked, Sarah was an adult. She wasn't even a kid. She was 20 when he asked her this. The whole thing came off as very strange and uncomfortable to watch. And honestly, as somebody who didn't know about them last week, looking at that proposal video, Sarah seemed uncomfortable to me. Okay, so like I said in the beginning of this video or earlier in the video, I thought my vision for this video before I really got deep into a rabbit hole was that I was going to be kind of showing some of their cringier videos, reacting to them, being like,
you don't abandon family, they pay their price to society.
So Sarah and Patrick have both been called out for saying racist things. Patrick has been called out for using racial slurs. And just recently, Sarah said something. I'm just going to put it here.
Don't look at me in that tone of voice, young lady.
I'll look at you however I want to look at you. I'm pretty white and 21.
Yeah, since then, Sarah has said she didn't realize that.
We're also, it's such a white trash trope, dude. It's always the white trash people.
I don't look at them as like a Halloween costume.
And also, BB spitting some facts this whole stream. She said, you can't decide if it's weirder to give a purity ring to your 13 to 15-year-old daughter or giving it to your adult daughter. Yeah, I'd have to say the adult daughter thing is actually fucking weirder. And I say that because in terms of caring about a younger girl's quote unquote purity or sex life, I'd say it's more normal. If you're worried about her getting pregnant and stuff, I can somewhat understand the rationalization, but it's still creepy either way. To be caring about their sex life, it is a weird kind of investment that is revealing into like the subconscious mind of like, why are you thinking about her sex life like that? And I mean, I don't know, you could write it off as being like, oh, I'm just a Christian and I don't want her to go to hell and I don't care, and you defend it, but when all of this stuff is combined, it's kind of weird.
What she said was bad to say and thought it was a really common saying, which I don't know if it is. I've never heard of it. Not to mention, are you free, Sarah? Like, are you actually free? Because with what I'm finding, it doesn't seem like it. Either way, it's something that they both should have known better when it comes to saying that kind of stuff. They just don't do it. They can use whatever once for Sarah, which leads me into the next section of this video, which is my own personal theories and a little mixed in with things that I was reading online. Based on
much milder than the Thorp stuff, okay? And so this is going to be her theory. This is much milder.
Everything that I've read, here's my theory so far. Before Sarah hit her so-called rebellious phase, things probably seemed pretty normal on the outside. But once she turned 18 and started making her own choices, Patrick clearly didn't take well to losing control. He couldn't handle the idea of not being the one pulling the strings in his daughter's life anymore. That's likely why she said, you know, at various points, she has talked about her dad reeling her back in, getting her off this dark path that she was taking. Not that we have any idea what this dark path actually was. She mentioned that whenever she turned 18, she made the choice to stop brushing her teeth because she wanted to rebel against her parents. And so for like 2 years, she wasn't brushing her teeth very often, which is really gross and makes me wonder why that was what she wanted to stop doing. But is it some wild act of rebellion?
Very common.
I don't think so.
Very common.
What it really
is, that is a very common thing with abuse victims and grooming victims, is that like they don't want to maintain their hygiene because they believe that it may push off you know, somebody who is molesting or abusing them sexually, and you know, it'll push them away, or it is similar thing of like
that's appealing. It's like,
yes, like, or they'll literally like have bottles in the room and pee in bottles so that they don't have to leave their room to use the bathroom, because like that's when their maybe like alcoholic parent will notice them and initiate something between them. Oh, look who we have in the chat.
Hey.
Session with daddies is almost as weird as this is. All right, Rich, keep coping. We're going to be going over a segment on you soon.
What it looks like is that Patrick managed to pull her back under his influence in a much more intense and isolating way. He cut her off from the very few friends that she had left. He gave her a purity ring when she was an adult. And again, like I said, if you watch that video, she visibly seemed uncomfortable. Whereas fast forward 2 years later, it seems like she's been conditioned to normalize this dynamic, to no longer question it. Somehow, Patrick has convinced her that she has to choose between her family and literally everything else. Like it's either hanging out with them or
isolation.
That's like isolation. Like either have me all the time or never. Like you don't have a dad and you'll be like Ruby. It's like, what the fuck?
Channel D with the 10. Thank you, Channel D. Sorry, I was stolen for a while. Shout out to finding the creepy stuff. And that is what we go over on this channel mostly, is, you know, really disturbing fucking people. So
going out and criminal psychology, social psychology, philosophy, it hits on so many different points that you can reference. I think it's really like disingenuous and annoying when people are like, it's like just with Ben and Grace that we're now jealous of this person and wish that we were her. It's like not all criticism is spawns from, you know, envy. Like some certainly does in some cases, absolutely, but that's not the universal. Like I just hate how they misapply like logic and make these false equivalencies, and it's just like tiring for no reason. It's like, what are we doing here? Like I would like to get off the carousel. Like
yeah, I think it's incredibly fascinating just diving into like these extreme people. I think that you can learn a lot that you can apply in your own life, and about just like disturbing dynamics. And a lot of us, we don't want to acknowledge it or dive into it, but it's the reality of the world.
Being wild, and there's no in between. It's really unhealthy, and in my opinion, it's control masked as caring. It's him just basically want to be like, I'm just a caring dad, I just care. No, you're being controlling, or so it seems at least. There is mentioned, you know,
and when you learn about stuff like this, you can apply it into relationships in your own life and see, you know, Like, because maybe necessarily you're not in an incestuous dynamic, but like somebody that's overly controlling and trying to isolate you from your friends and say like you have to choose between, which is also exactly what Ben does with Grace. Don't let anyone fucking pull that shit in your
Turning
life. It is the biggest red flag.
And like we're learning about these things, you can learn how to protect yourself and how to spot it and better navigate. Like I was fairly naive and I've learned so much just like through these experiences about how there's a segment of the population that does kind of operate differently and like without empathy, and you know.
And these two they share the same bed together. Wow.
Are you fucking dude? Maybe this is just like a new epidemic. Or I shouldn't say epidemic because honestly, I've looked it up, you know, out of curiosity, and usually the only other cases are examples of like sibling, father and daughters to say that were separated at birth and reconnecting. There is some kind of like there's a syndrome of like familial like sexual attraction that's been documented and happens, and people that pursue those relationships. It's highly controversial, but very different when they weren't raised by the person. I will say that does make it different, you know, but still fucked up. But it's a phenomenon. It happens. And I think it's interesting, worth talking about for sure.
It also, dude, it's just, what the fuck was I about to say? Shit. Shit, I don't remember now. I was about to say, wait, hold on. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, when that happens, I'll have like sick bars in my head. I'm like, dude, I'm about to drop this fucking nuclear bomb. Like,
wait, hold on. Let me see.
It's control masked as caring. It's him just basically want to be like, I'm just a caring dad. I just care. No, you're being.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say, dude. It's crazy. See, and this is what also fascinates me about these types of people online, is it's crazy how being isolated like this, like how disconnected you can be from reality to where they come online and they're uploading this content and they think that it is normal. And so they don't expect the criticism, and it really goes to show how disconnected you can be from society to then come up on here and be like, I'm going to put this out in the world and I don't expect to get any criticism. None of these people expect to get any criticism, you know? It's the same way with the Thorps came online and Ben thought that publicizing his fights with his family, that people would side with him and that it would actually give him the W. And that's the whole reason why he wanted to go public with it, was to get public validation. That's how fucking delusional you can be when you're not properly, you know, socialized in what the norms of society are. And now with the creation of the internet, we just see all of these people crawling out of their little caves and interacting with normal society, and they're realizing for the first time how disconnected they are from reality. And it's like that's pretty much the case with all of these viral disturbing families.
But what's also disturbing is they use the Bible saying like you will be hated, and there's this kind, it's very specifically spiritual fucking abuse, you know, to like use certain biblical things to be like you must submit to your father fully no matter what, he cannot be wrong, like I'm next in kin like to God, you can communicate to God like through me, like I'm basically the master over you until you're handed off to another male or something. And they'll say it's proof that we're right, that we're hated, because Jesus said if you follow my teachings publicly you will be hated. You could just create this perfect little loop that they live in, and it's fascinating to me.
These little family cults and relationship cults, they're very normal. Like it's more common than you think. But Titus with the 5 says, do we find out what happened to the RV, and do they have real ID that just went into effect? So basically they left the RV in Indianapolis is what I heard. And they dished it there, broke down there, or it might not be in some place. I think it's Indianapolis, and they're taking a train so that because to fly you need the real ID. So instead they're taking a train to get back to the RV in a few days here, because I think that there's probably another court date coming up, is what I'm guessing. Is why they have to get back over to Rhode Island. Yeah,
rough.
Controlling, or so it seems at least. There is mentioned, you know, talks of wanting to get married, wanting to have children someday. But let's be real. What person is going to willingly walk into this situation? Soon as the guy would go and meet Patrick and see that weird father-daughter dynamic going on, he can't sit with us! He's gonna go running. Of course he's gonna go running. No,
which is exactly what we were saying. The whole thing
And this
That
is like
whole
1% is bad.
Let me give you a little secret. Men don't really care about that. They really don't. Like, even if there was a sex tape of me having sex with my father, the allegations were proven true, men don't really care. I'm not gonna lie. Like, they would care a little bit, but then they'd be like, well, whatever. She made a mistake. I'll save her. You know what I mean? They don't care. Men are so simple in certain ways. Like, we don't. I wouldn't care. I love you, Grace. See? Men care about incest? Nah, not really. I just don't really think so. Like, if you were dating a girl and she said, like, oh, I did something weird with my brother one time and I was in a bad place and, you know, would you really care? Like, not if she, look, if she was hot enough, you wouldn't care. You'd be like, okay, well, you're interesting, you're damaged, right? Yeah, we don't care. We don't, we just call her a retard and move on. Yeah. No, nah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if Adriana Lima was like, you know, I had a rough childhood and I did something weird with my brother one time, but like, I don't do that anymore. It was a weird time and like we were really close. Would you care? No, you would, she could say she literally did anything and you would still stay. You're only a 5 out of 10 though, Grace. You're not hot enough. I think I'm hot enough to pull off something with my family and a guy wouldn't care. But hey, that's just me.
Like, dude, it's just like it's so validating seeing all of these women doing these commentary videos on the daddy-daughter dream team and saying the exact same points that we have been saying about Ben and Grace, and their dumbass fucking simps being like, oh, that's not valid. How do you know? You still don't have fucking proof. Well, these people are speculating about this incestuous dynamic with even less evidence and saying the same exact things that we are saying.
Exactly.
The same exact things. What is she just? Hold on. Let's play that.
Yeah, that was like, it was so
addressing the clip that we played earlier when Grace was saying, when she
guys
was
don't care about that.
saying,
Like, yeah.
Yes, saying that guys don't care about the incest. Okay, the court date is on June 1st. Okay.
I mean, there is a fetish market for it, and I think that's a segment of their audience, you know?
Nobody would want to involve themselves in that. And I think that Patrick knows that. Now, here is another theory that I've considered. I haven't really seen people talking about it, but I've considered it. Because, look, it's 2025. What sells online in 2025? Rage bait. Patrick has tried and failed at multiple get-rich-quick schemes over the years. And this TikTok account is actually one of the first things that's working for him. It might not be making him rich, but it's definitely bringing in the views, the followers, and all of that stuff. Because people are wanting to tune in to this virtual train wreck. And again, I think Patrick knows that. But here's why I think that
Exactly the same with the fucking darts again. Exactly.
Yeah, I like looked at my phone for a second, so I missed the last thing she said. What did she say?
Teachers act like that in my state, but yeah, well, he got fired. Channel T, he got fired for being a teacher. I don't remember exactly why. His son told me about it, and he's also talked about it on stream. So this is just a paraphrase. I don't want to say any details that I get wrong, but he got fired for some creepy comment that he made or something that he did that was kind of weird with one of the male students. I believe it had something to do with either speaking about like the urinals in the bathroom or doing something weird in the bathroom, in the boys' bathroom. It was something about that. Titus with the 5, we are daughters and we know their relationship is not normal.
Theory kind of just doesn't work. I just can't see Sarah agreeing to do something like that on purpose, even for clout or for money. Most people would not agree to do these kind of videos and get these kind of, assumptions about you and your dad. I don't think most people would agree to that unless if that's, again, just their normal dynamic and they don't see it as weird. So I don't think that the rage bait thing is exactly why they're doing it, but I do think they know that it's working. And the last thing I want to talk about very lightly, and I want to do it in a very sensitive type of way, but it's people's genuine concern for Sarah and why they're genuinely concerned. Because here's the thing, whenever it comes to all of this, Patrick and Sarah think that anybody who has anything that is not positive towards them, that person's a hater. Every single time.
Which is very aligned with the Healthy Family Force stuff, which is the last thing that I want to get into here is reviewing, and we just had them in the chat a little bit ago. Like and subscribe.